How does it sound? Gosh, that's really rather pokey indeed, actually. Recently, I reviewed a Subaru Impreza, and it was a blast. But the guy who owns that also owns this Subaru Legacy, and he asked if I was interested in having a go. And to be honest, I couldn't even remember what the thing looked like. It's true, I just remember thinking, yeah, it's quite a large estate car, probably silver, probably a bit bland. And it is that anticipation of it being a bit bland that has surprised me so much here today. Because although it doesn't seem to have any amazingly sparkly, weird and futuristic features, it's an amazingly good looking car. I am genuinely surprised by how much I like the look of this. That is because if this car was described to me, I think I'd end up thinking, well, sorry, it looks a bit like an Audi then, or a Volkswagen. Some parts of it may be exactly that, like this rather featureless shoulder and these handles that, well, they just seem to work okay. And then the front wing, which again doesn't have a great deal going on. And then we come to the front and we've got a bit of character within this headlamp there, but again, it's nothing too surprising. And that's where I think the trick of this car actually is, because I think you could drive this around everywhere and nobody would even notice it. It's only when you start to look closely you can appreciate it. The first thing that strikes me actually are these rear light clusters. They are kind of similar to what you would get in a Laguna estate. And then this great big C window, if that's what you call it. I don't know if I've just made that up, or would that be called the C window? Because that makes sense. I don't need to explain it, do I? But with the blackened out plastic bits, it's just like one big wraparound from the front all the way around the back and then back to the front again. From certain angles, this looks like a really, really rather big estate car. At the top, it seems to have a bit of a raised roof line for people with big foreheads. And big foreheads they may well have, because this does seem to be the car which is very much like a Saab, a kind of a sensible choice. One thing that struck me straight away about this is this. Listen to this for a door shut sound. That is fantastic. And the same with the rear. Door shut sounds are important, and that is the nicest door shut sound I think I've ever experienced. I mean, is it the same from the inside? Yeah, it is. That's fantastic. And the feel of the pull handle there, that's lovely. It's got a really nice weight to it. Let me close it again. Small things appeal to small minds, of course, but I just want to keep opening and closing the doors at the moment. I just love that sound. With the introduction of the Legacy, Subaru decided that they was going to start making much better quality vehicles. And so the question is, can I see that inside the car? The door card's got quite a nice firm feel to it. That's sagging a bit there, but then it is an older car. And these switches have quite a good tactile feel to them actually. It looks like it's been designed by the same person who's designed the rest of the car. And that is exactly what I was thinking when I started having a look around this car to begin with. That there's nothing outlandish in the styling, but it all fits together really, really well. It looks really, really focused. It's amazing that a car like this can be around and you don't even notice it. That's how focused the styling is. Did sound a bit like I was kind of saying something negative there, but I'm honestly not. Whilst most Japanese cars seem to be like a compromise, like 5 or 6 designers all sort of trying to get their bit of design in there, and then eventually say, right, well, you can have this bit, you can have that, and etc. And the whole thing looks like a mismatch of different ideas. This looks like one person has designed it. Back to the interior and interior quality. Well, we have things like a carpet, which is nice. A Subaru on the kick plate there is a nice bit of attention to detail. The kind of attention to detail you might find in a Rover. Yeah, continuing. An illuminated ignition ring, that's always something I like to see. Pedals that look rather sporty. Leather steering wheel, of course, and leather seats. And then a rather modern looking centre console for the age of the vehicle. Cup holders, bits here and there, and a 6-speed gearbox. So what we need to do now is the tap test. Tap test, tap test, tap test. And that's jolly good indeed, excellent. That's what I like to see. All of the entertainment stuff here looks kind of straightforward, and it has, again, these are really good feeling quality buttons, better than average for a car of this age. And it must be an old car because look, there's a hole to put tapes in. Very fancy. That sounds really fruity. Let's not get ahead of myself, I'm still doing the walk around video. This car looks to have a huge boot, so the question is, are you compromised sitting in the back seat? And I have to say, no, it's actually very good. And I was not expecting to be so blown away by such a door shut sound. That is fantastic. It's fun, it's amazing. But yeah, back to the point. The rear headroom is actually, there's not loads of rear headroom, but there's enough. I'm not touching the roof with my bonds, and that's enough. But then again, I can see the headlining, the roof is slightly raised a little bit as well, which does help. A physical switch rather than it being one of those dodgy switches that go wrong. And we'll look inside this big boot, and that certainly is big enough. Looks like a nice kind of picnic area here as well. Yeah, I could just do with a cup of tea and an egg sandwich now and I'll be perfectly happy. If we look at the Subaru now, you can see the bonnet is open, and that helps me to see the flat 6 engine, which is there. Flat 6. It's a 6-cylinder, 3-litre engine, and it chucks out about 245 brake horsepower without a turbo or a supercharger. So I think that's quite impressive. Being the size of the car though, I'm not really expecting it to be overly quick, because it does look like it's going to weigh about 3 tonne. So far, I haven't found anything I don't like about this car, which is really unusual. This one is just, it just seems to be ticking all the boxes. How does it sound? Yeah. As fruity as Graham Norton's beard. Nice gentle takeoff. Driving the Subaru Legacy rather gently up Dale Street in Millmore. It's rather smooth so far. And now we have the added joy of stopping at some traffic lights. It's got a lovely howl to the exhaust note there. I think having a straight, no, not straight 6, flat 6. So it's kind of a flattened V, rather than trying to bung all the cylinders in line with each other. They're just squashed into the bonnet and hope for the best. But you still get a very distinctive 6-cylinder sound, a very kind of howly, desperate for attention kind of sound. Sounds like it's crying. Oh, poor Subaru engine. Poor Subaru. Oh. The steering's lovely actually. The steering really does steer the car in the right direction. And the gear change is equally accurate and a pleasure to use. We're about to get to a point where I can possibly go just a little bit quicker. Do you think I should do that?
Oh, I think you should do that.
Third gear, the third gear test. What a lovely sound. Gosh, that's really rather pokey indeed, actually. It's got a lovely turn of speed to it, actually. No doubt this car is good on, you know, the bends as well. Even though it's a rather long thing, looks like it might be driving a wardrobe, but I bet it doesn't handle like a wardrobe. don't really need to drop it down to second gear for it to just pull really nicely. What about this roundabout? Should I hoon it round the roundabout ever so slightly? Second gear. Oh yes, that's immensely satisfying engine notes. I reckon this is a bit like a Porsche Boxster to drive. Sounds like one. I've never driven one, but I imagine that that is exactly as it sounds and feels. I'm going to go with that. It's like the 911 for the antiques dealer. So far, I haven't found anything negative to say about this car. The build quality is very good. There's no rattles anywhere. It drives really well. It's really quick. It sounds fantastic. It looks surprisingly stylish at the same time as being the kind of thing that nobody looks at. So what could possibly be wrong with it? Is it the kind of car that bearded ladies drive? No. Is it the kind of car that men that can't grow beards drive? No, I don't suppose so. The only thing so far seems to be the fuel consumption is pretty heavy, averaging about 22 miles per gallon. That's not really a lot, is it? But then again, in a 3 litre flat 6 like this, you wouldn't expect 40 miles per gallon whilst hoofing it round town. So you can't have everything, can you? You can have almost everything though. In conclusion then, this Subaru Legacy 3 litre flat 6. You can probably tell that I like it. But I don't just like it, I really like it. I mean, there are plenty of cars that surprise me by them being good and plenty that surprise me by them leaving me a little bit cold, and you know, I can respect them. But this one, I've not found anything I don't actually like about it. It seems to be very characterful to drive, it's quick, it's good looking, it's well made, it's got everything that I'd want. And now, the big question, what would I prefer? This or the Rover equivalent? Say, a 75. I'd prefer that. One other thing that is worthwhile mentioning about this car is because it's 4-wheel drive and because of Subaru and how they're good at doing these kind of things, it is excellent in the snow. But, you know, unfortunately, I've not been able to find that out for myself today because there isn't any. Shame. Yeah, if only that Volkswagen wasn't there, then that would be a really good picture. Is it the kind of car that bearded